Hello, and thank you for joining me. This is Sean Wheeler. The reason I decided to make this podcast is to answer some of the typical questions that come up from clients, I would presume like yourself, who are thinking about trying hypnosis for smoking cessation, but still have a few questions about it and how exactly it's going to work. So just to start out with, the first thing that I always tell any client who speaks with me about the possibility of doing this, I say the most important thing right off the bat is that you have to have a strong desire to stop smoking. It has to be your own. For example, it can't be something that your husband or your wife or your family is kind of forcing you into, something that you don't really have your heart in it. If that's the case and you're doing it to satisfy somebody else, chances are it's not going to be all that effective. The reason for that being that when you're hypnotized, you won't do anything that's against your will. It's against your morals or against your values. And if being a smoker is something that you want to continue, in spite of the health risks and in spite of what other people around you are trying to say, then there's nothing that I or any other hypnotist can say while you're hypnotized that's going to force you to do anything against your will. So as long as you're here for your own reasons, because it's something that you want to do for your health, for your well-being, for your life, then hypnosis is something that can help you. Now, the other thing that people ask me very frequently is, well, what's it like right off the bat, or what's it like that first week, or how is it different? Well, the truth is that, when you're hypnotized, you're not going to leave my office that day as a different person. Don't turn you into a robot. You don't forget completely about your past or that you've ever smoked cigarettes. The work that we do really focuses on your awareness. Now, most smokers will admit that, if you really think about it, you only know that you're having a craving when the thought of smoking comes into your mind. Meaning that when you are in certain situations, like, for example, when you're in a location where you can't smoke, and one very common location that most people have experienced at some time or another is being in a movie theater. Now, if the movie is good and it's entertaining and engaging, many smokers can go an hour and a half, 2 hours or more without even thinking about it, without having a quote-unquote craving for a cigarette. But of course, as soon as the movie's over, you walk outside, you have a chance to think again, and smoking or lighting up is the first thing that many smokers do. However, you have an ability to forget consciously about cigarettes and smoking when your attention is focused on other things. It's just the way that our conscious attention naturally works, that you can only be focused on a couple of different things at any given moment. It's just like while you're driving your car, if you're also trying to talk on the cell phone. It becomes more difficult to do anything well, the more things that you take on at the same time. So, your natural ability to forget about things is really a bonus. It's really helpful to you in the context of smoking cessation. So the work that we do in that first session in particular is very much geared toward changing your awareness in such a way that the things that have for a long time automatically remind you of cigarettes and smoking, whether it's after a meal or being in the car or taking a break from work with a cup of coffee, whatever those associations are, we specifically address those associations and cause those things to no longer automatically cause you to think about cigarettes or smoking, so that you can, in fact, forget about smoking in those situations. The net effect being that over that first or second week, the first couple of weeks after you use hypnosis the first time, that you don't have to battle with willpower 20 times a day. Every time that you used to smoke, you don't have to think about it and focus on it and struggle with it like you have in the past. There's the likelihood that most people, as they've told me, the smoking clients that I've worked with, will tell me that a couple of times a day, perhaps at first, sometimes even less, they'll be aware of the fact that they're quitting, that someone will bring it up, a friend will mention to you, how's it going, how is the hypnosis, or you'll see other people smoking out in a social setting. And in those moments, that's when you have a conscious awareness of it and you have to make your conscious choice not to do it. But another part of the work that we do in that first session is, of course, helping to change how you think about cigarettes and smoking, so that when you do think about them, it doesn't seem like something that's appealing to you. It's not something that you want to do, because after all, that's why you're here, because it's not something that you want to do anymore. So it's taking that motivation that you have, at those times when you really feel strongly motivated to quit smoking, that sometimes disappears in the moment when it's time to have a cigarette, which is what makes quitting smoking so troublesome on your own. We take that motivation and we automatically tie it to those situations where you need it, so that when you do think about it, you have what you need to get through that moment and to get on to what's next in your life. Now, I've had a couple of recent clients, and their experience is fairly typical. Both of these clients were, well, one of them was in her late 20s, the other one in her late 30s. They've been smoking since they were teenagers, and one of the main concerns that they had was of, well, what happens when I'm out drinking? Because being out in a club or in a bar or out with some friends or at a restaurant, having a few glasses of wine or a couple of drinks has always in the past led to them smoking cigarettes. So they're very concerned about that and other people being around them smoking. Now, one of the testimonials that you'll see on my website here, or on purehypnosis.com, on the smoking page in particular, is a very recent one from one of those clients. And her experience is very typical, which is that a few days after she worked with me, she went out on a Thursday or Friday night with a group of friends to a bar where other people were smoking all around her, where she had a few drinks, enough drinks to loosen the inhibition, so to speak. But even with that, because of the work that we did and the effectiveness of it, she didn't feel the urge to smoke. She didn't feel the need to do it. She wasn't fighting with it. It just looked like something that somebody else was doing that she didn't want to do. She said it looked disgusting to her. She still has the choice, and you as an individual are always going to have the choice. This doesn't turn you into a different person. But what it does is it helps you to see things in a way that you want to see them, to see things in a way that helps you to achieve the results that you want to achieve. So just realize that no matter what the sticking points are for you, no matter what you would imagine to be the most difficult times for you to remain as a non-smoker, whether it's after having a few drinks or whether it's taking a break from work, whether it's that first one in the morning with a cup of coffee, that we will specifically address those situations and those contexts during the work that we do together. My program for smoking cessation is not a cookie-cutter program wherein I read the same words off a piece of paper to everybody that comes in through the door. We do the exact same things. It's very geared toward you as an individual, your past experiences. Because, you know, to be honest with you, some people only smoke a few cigarettes a day, but they can't kick it all together. Some people have been smoking 2 or 3 packs a day for 30 or 40 years. I've seen all sorts of people along that spectrum, and the work that we do together is very much focused on you specifically, your experiences and your expectations and your beliefs. We address those things as well as something like weight gain, which is a very common worry because many smokers, when they've tried to quit on their own in the past, have put on some weight as that nervous compulsion to do something with your hands is replaced. It goes from cigarettes to food or something else. We specifically address that every time that I work with any client, so that your focus isn't on what you don't want, which is no cigarettes, don't smoke, don't think about cigarettes. That's actually counterproductive. What we help you to do is to focus on what it is that you do want. And what it is that you do want, in general, is to feel better, to have more energy, to feel good about yourself, to be able to calm yourself or relax yourself, deal with stress and whatever life presents you with. And, being healthy and having a healthy attitude towards food and eating is a part of that. So it actually fits into the work that we're doing together. And if anything, you should expect to gain more control over your eating habits and over your weight. Now, if you're interested in this program, the next step that you'll want to take is if you go back to purehypnosis.com and you go to the contact page, and I believe also on the session page you can find this link. There's a client intake questionnaire or client form that you can click on. It's a Word document. You can fill it out. You can fax it back to me or email it back to me, whichever is more convenient for you. And once I receive that form, generally within about 2 business days, usually it's within about 1, but sometimes as much as 2, I will respond to you, give you a phone call using one of the numbers that you've listed on your form, and talk to you about setting up a session, or if you wanted to set up a consultation, we can go that route as well. But again, just to remind you that as long as you have a sincere desire to quit smoking, this is something that can work for you, and it can only make it easier for you. You only have to gain in this context. You really have nothing to lose. And the cost of the program is really just a couple of months worth of cigarettes, especially at the price that they're going for these days. Thanks again for joining me on this podcast. My name is Sean Wheeler again, and I look forward to speaking with you.